Hello and welcome. Vintage Super League is back. Rich Shay is on Sylvan Library Monastery Mentor. Pretty much what, I don't know, I predicted anyway. And Chris Pikula is on the shop deck that you predicted, Tom. Thought you said
Yeah,
you weren't paying attention. You got it just right.
I mean these two. I've been on these decks for quite a while. As I did mention, just with respect to Rich, I've been looking at some daily results recently. I know he piloted his deck to a pretty good finish in that vintage tournament recently.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
no
the Power Rack
surprises
Challenge.
here.
Chris has kept a draw with no workshop, but it does have Mana Crypt, so he gets to accelerate his mana. He kept Wasteland Strip Mine as well. Looks like Thorn of Amethyst is the lead. Pretty powerful. I think Rich Shay might need to Force a Will this. His hand doesn't really
Almost certainly.
do anything.
And he also has a backup Forcible here. I mean, he doesn't want to pitch all of his blue cards, obviously, but if he doesn't force this, then you, Chris could easily just be playing, could have a workshop in his hand, right? So if he doesn't force this, it locks him out. That's pretty scary.
Force pitching Jace.
I think so. That's what I would
Save
pitch
the
here.
Brainstorm.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Makes sense. I agree.
And now he's going to get his. It's interesting he played Volcanic instead of Scalding Tarn. I mean, obviously he has Brainstorm. He probably wants to save it, but Chris's range is so heavily on Wasteland decks that I think I would have let Scalding Tarn.
Well, I think he wanted the Brainstorm reshuffle is the reason. But yeah, he can still play the Scalding Tarn first, especially since he obviously wasn't planning to use the Brainstorm on turn one.
Well, and he doesn't Brainstorm in response. I don't like. I think I would want to fire off the Brainstorm there. I understand one to be able to shuffle away, but you can still shuffle away one of the cards.
He's also was his only blue card for the Force of Will.
True. But I think you're so likely to draw another one that I think I like Brainstorm in response there, trying to find some business.
Yeah, now
he's not going to get punished here, though.
Yeah, he's going to get Brainstorm Shuffle as a response.
Wow. It's just taking an interesting line here. I definitely would have just played Tundra and Brainstormed right there.
Yeah.
I don't think, especially... So good.
Well, I mean, he can still wait for end step this way. Like, the Strip Mine isn't doing anything. He's looking across to add a Strip Mine, so he knows that Tundra's dead if he plays it.
Right, but I mean, I still think you want to be quite this passive. I mean, it depends on his exact list, but certainly if he's playing cards like, Sylvan Library, he can easily just hit, Final Box and...
I think he's trying to get to Mentor mana. Like, getting to the 3 mana for Mentor is tricky. And, I mean, I think his thought was, I can end step, Brainstorm, reshuffle, untap, play my Tundra, tap 3 for Mentor. I think that was the dream there. And he's got obviously Force of Will with a misstep.
That only works if Chris doesn't have another land, otherwise, or Chris taps out for a 4-drop, right? Otherwise, he's going to have Strip Mine open, so he'll just Strip Mine the land end of turn still.
Well, I mean, Chris tapped a Strip Mine. Rich's play seems to me to be coming together. Oh, and now he's got the Gush, too.
Yeah, this is working out really well for Rich. He can shuffle away this misstep and probably probably the Taxing Probe, I think. And then, or he'd even just choose to draw the Probe. Probe is actually pretty great here. So probably just put back Misstep Probe, untap, take your draw, and then shuffle away just the Misstep, I think.
Well, question number 1 is, are you going to Force a Will this Tangle Wire? Or are you just waiting it out? I mean, that's the first decision he's got to make.
In general, I think you need to contest these, but...
I think this is one you can wait out. Because Chris only has 1 power of attacker, Chris has gone a couple of turns without a workshop, you're going to be able to Force a Will the next thing, like the Lodestone Golem that we can see Chris wants to play next turn. I think this Tangle Wire you can wait out. Doesn't look like Rich agrees with me, though.
Interesting. Oh,
yeah.
He could end... No, he can't. What is he... This is
he can't quite dig, but he'll be able to dig. Right? Crack the fetch land. He can probe. He's going to have 7 cards in his yard. His dig is definitely...
And he's going to go ahead and get 2 lands in place with Concussion in response to the Strip Mine now.
Wow, so he shuffled away nothing. All those cards were decent. I mean, if you're going to Force a Will the... if you're going to Force a Will the Tangle Wire, even the Misstep has value as a blue card.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once you decide to do that Force Will, I like the lane you took here. I think I would have played this game. I would have tried to be a little more proactive with that first Brainstorm, but I think given that strategy, that decision from Rich, his execution of it's been really good.
Yeah, and it turns out he wouldn't have found anything proactive. We've seen all the same cards. Main phase, dig through time.
Makes
without
sense.
cracking the fetch land.
Yeah, I mean, he can go ahead and find something like Lotus Mentor here.
Don't you want to crack your fetch land before you put 5 cards on the bottom, though? It's a small effect, but it's not 0.
Depends. I mean, you're just as likely to want those cards back in your deck as I guess you're slightly less likely as you're taking the 2 best of them.
Yeah.
But in a spot where you know you may have to take a mana source here, you're
Plow,
more
Mentor. What's the blue card? Is that another? Oh, it's a Mind Break Trap. Main deck Mind Break Trap.
That's been pretty common I've seen in these lists. They've been playing 1 Mind Break Trap and 1 copy. 2 Flusterstorms main. I think because of the Resurgence of Storm. So that's been a really.
I've seen the Flusterstorms. I haven't been studying the lists as well as you have. I mean, I was in Barcelona too. I will admit most of my preparation was in an airport on sketchy Wi-Fi. Chris draws a sword. Still no 4th mana. And he's what? He's down 2 coin flips to the Mana Crypt at this point?
Yeah, he's going to have to just fire off another Tangle Wire here, I think. Everything else just looks too slow to me. He can't just play another Ravager here.
I mean, I guess playing Sword is slightly more proactive than playing Tangle Wire. Maybe the Tangle Wire is better.
I think, like, given that Rich just resolved this dig, I'm afraid of what Rich is going to do in his turn if I'm Chris.
Yeah,
like,
and Rich did
force mana.
And Rich did Force of Will the previous Tangle Wire, so Rich is clearly afraid of it. Yeah, all right, I buy it. And seeing Rich's hand, it's pretty good too. Huh. Kill Ravager, sure. Certainly takes any of the sting out of Chris's draw. Dragon Lord Ojutai. Rich is just all Dragon Lords all the time.
Yeah, this is what he's been playing in the dailies. He moved to Ojutai from Draboka. Yeah, so he plays 1 Jace, 1 Seeker of the Way. Actually, sorry, no, he's moved off the Jace. Most recently, he's been playing 1 Snapcaster Mage, 1 Seeker of the Way, 1 Dragon Lord Ojutai, and 2 Monastery Mentor. And I have no idea why he's the 1 Seeker of the Way. I mean, maybe the life gain. It's probably great in this matchup, actually. And there it is. He drew it. So yeah, he's playing the same list he's been playing most recently.
Crazy. Chris has not drawn a single mana source this entire game. His opening hand had Mana Crypt, Strip Mine, Wasteland, and now it's turn 6. He's yet to find anything. We may actually see a game here where his own Mana Crypt becomes Rich's win condition. Well, that Black Lotus helps. Curse of the Announcer, right? As soon as I talk about him not drawing any mana, there he goes. And now what? Lodestone Golem, right? Could do Ravager and Sword, but with the Tangle Wire still crimping Rich's style, I think this is Lodestone Golem. Rich is going to think about it. I guess he can, gush into a Force of Will if he wants to?
Potentially.
Man, if he whiffs on the gush, though, it's so bad against Tangle Wire for 2.
Yeah, I think in general you just want to, against both Lodestone Golem and Tangle Wire, you want to just leave all your permanents in play. So here I expect Rich to just let this resolve. And he's at 12. But he can also just, as soon as he gets to 3 mana, he can just play Seeker.
So Seeker and Gush turning Seeker into a 3/3 to trade with Lodestone Golem, is that really what Vintage has become? I have not seen this.
In Rich's hands it is.
I think you let Lodestone resolve because you're planning to trade your Seeker of the Way for it.
It is a little awkward, though, in that he'll need to have 4 mana for that to work, right? Because both the Seeker and the Gush will cost 1 extra.
That's true.
So, and there's a Strip Mine in play, so it just seems really difficult for that to happen.
That's fair.
I think he's going to be more all in on just drawing a Swords of Plowshares if he lets this resolve, and he's probably playing 1 or 2.
At that point, maybe you just Gush, though.
Yeah, the list he's been playing most recently, I think he's had only 1 copy of Swords of Plowshares in his main deck.
Well, we've already seen that. Yeah, this Gush is bad if it bricks, but life is bad if he doesn't find a Force of Will. So I think I agree with this line. Finds a Ruby. It's not nothing.
If he draws another Mox, he can cast the Seeker.
Yeah. He
There
did.
we go. He did.
Wow.
That's big.
Not that he has an instant to trigger prowess right now, but still, the Mox just accelerates everything, including next turn's Monastery Mentor.
Well, here, if Chris draws an Ancient Tomb or a Workshop, a land, one of any of those, that he can actually play an Equipped Sword and end this game. So this is a big draw step here for Chris.
Wasteland.
Still pretty good.
Yeah, can kind of nuke him back to the Stone Age. Or could say that's my 4th mana for Lodestone Golem number 2. It's actually an interesting decision, right? Blow up 2 lands versus play a 2nd Lodestone.
Yeah, I don't know which way to go here. This is tough.
I mean, if you play the 2nd Lodestone, you can then blow up 2 lands next turn.
Yeah, I think I like that line.
I think that's where I would lean. Although, well, I guess Rich can't Gush to blow him out, right? Because he would have to pay 1 extra for the Gush. So
True.
Oh, he's going to go Sword and blow up 1 land?
Huh.
Could go Ravager and blow up both lands.
I like Ravager blow up both lands once you go down this path. You should maybe look for Hangerback Walker for 1 here.
Yeah, I think I like Golem and then start blowing up lands next turn a little better than this, but Chris has a lot more experience with workshops than I do.
It does seem like a spot where we're having 2 golems in play. At most, Rich can play 1 spell realistically there, so maybe the Seeker becomes a 3/3. But you have 2 Lodestone golems. If he gets to trade off one of them, it's not a huge loss. And that's Rich's best case scenario.
Chris also down to 9, by the way. Some value in getting a 2nd Lodestone into play so you don't accidentally die to your Mana Crypt before you can finish off Rich Shay. I mean, I guess that Ravager can eat it if things get really desperate, but it's also his only mana.
One of the downsides to playing Hangerback Walker is now you have to cast Ravager this turn no matter what. Ooh,
oh, Tolarian Academy.
That's game.
That'll tap for some nice mana.
Yeah, now you can just play and equip the sword on the... Now, you probably still just play the 2nd Lodestone Golem, actually.
Yeah, well, you can if you lead Ravager, the Academy makes an extra mana. 5 lets him go sword and equip if that's how he wants to play it. I think it's a pretty good way to play it. I mean, what is Rich going to do? Best case scenario, he can trigger prowess once. I guess the interesting question is which creature you equip it to. Do you want to be attacking with your Hangerback? No, yeah, just make sure Lodestone Golem stays alive. 7/5 lethal creature coming through. Wait, can he Ravager kill him if he goes for it here?
No, there's only 5 artifacts in play, right? So it only does...
It's close, but yeah, I think you're right. So yeah, Rich is obliged to chump block. Chris is not interested in sacking any artifacts yet.
So had he put the sword on the other creature, they were both lethal, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. But
I don't think it matters.
Rich did have enough mana to respond with an instant.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I don't
think it's definitively right to go for that, but I do think putting the sword on the other creature makes sense. Because Chris will still chump 1, and then you still just can let it resolve. Use it to do more damage.
Chris's position looking pretty good in all scenarios.
Rich finding his main deck Ancient Grudge a little bit too late here.
Wow. Good point. Chris is who that's for. Does seem late, though. Yeah. He can't cast anything. That 1 Golem effect is just cutting everything off. Chris gets to attack for lethal. Now, sideboarding!
Yeah, so if Rich is on the same side where he's been playing, he's going to have 2 Ancient Grudges, 2 Nature's Claims, 2 Supreme Verdicts, and a Steel Sabotage for this matchup. I wonder if that is...
I looked about right. I mean, I saw all those cards. I can't quite.
Yep, this is the same side where he's been
try to
playing.
see the numbers.
Yep. 1 Aegis of the Gods for the Storm matchup.
I wonder how much shops we're going to see. Like, we went so many seasons with just an underrepresentation of shops. But now, like, the metagame has made Storm good. Somehow the restriction of Chalice has made shops better. I don't understand that, but... I mean, what it's actually done is, between the restriction of Chalice and the printing of Dark Petition, there's just a lot more Storm in the metagame, and shops still eats up Storm decks, even with only 1 Chalice. Wow, Chris has a Metalworker build. That is aggro. I mean, that's what Ochoa won with, right? Only ever got to tap Metalworker for mana once, but Metalworker was in the play-in tournament winning deck. No Wormcoils? Isn't this the matchup where Wormcoil's at its best? The, like, Ancient Grudge creature-based deck?
Yeah, but Rich has white for swords, so maybe Chris is concerned that he has multiples. He may not be familiar with the list that Rich has been playing recently that only plays 1 copy. And he didn't see Ancient Grudge, so he may not realize that that's the plan that Rich is on.
I mean, he saw Volcanic and Tropical. He knows there's Ancient Grudge. All right, how are these draws? The Jitte for Chris Pikula.
Great draws from both players here.
Chris is on Ancient Tomb. Once again, no Workshop. No, he's just Ancient Tomb for acceleration, but he gets to go turn 1 Thorn.
I guess Chris's draw is only good. It's not great.
Right.
Rich's draw, I think, is pretty good. Getting Ponder and then hopefully...
Yeah, I mean, Rich needs a second land, but he's on Preordained Ponder, so you totally keep that. Dig and what's the other card? Is that a Mox? Yep. Yeah, it's a Ruby. Well, there's the mana. No green mana for the flashback on Ancient Grudge, but he's still in pretty good shape. I guess there's no white mana either. He's in good shape for his hand.
Yeah, probably let the first Thorn resolve here, I assume. Looks like he's otherwise interesting. Yeah, I would think you'd want to save that Force of Will for the first actual threat. Like but with only 1 land, I can understand being afraid of just getting strip mined out of the tournament there.
Yep.
So I don't dislike that line.
Well, he's on a fetch land now, so hilariously he kind of wants a Savannah. I'm sure he does not run a Savannah. He'll have to settle for a Tropical. Or a Tundra? I would guess Tropical, given the Ancient Grudge in his hand.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Ponder is his only blue card. That Force of Will is down, but he has found the Sylvan Library, the signature card in this deck. Leaves it on top to draw next turn. Jet's pretty solid. Lets Chris play 2/2s this turn.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think you want to lead with... I mean, Sphere obviously complicates things. You can only play 2/2s if Sphere is either the second one or not one.
He might just play both creatures here. Although I think Rich is on 3 mana. So Sphere doesn't seem that relevant. He doesn't have that many cards in hand. I could see just playing Ravager and Hangerback, or playing Hangerback and Sphere. I think he's definitely playing Hangerback in this spot.
Hangerback and Sphere. It's now a 3-mana Sylvan Library, or you Ancient Grudge first. It's actually kind of an interesting question. Doesn't seem crazy to pay 3. Yeah, let Chris be under his own sphere for a little while. He hasn't really shown you a ton of mana.
I wonder if you just Tangle Wire here.
Tangle Wire is the only thing you're doing, if that's what you're doing. I guess you only get to do one of these things no matter what.
Right, and Tangle Wire is going to lock Rich up for 2 turns, and since you have the Sphere to tap as well, it doesn't really cost you, it doesn't set you back at all. It's possible it has to be a little bit further ahead first. Oh, he tapped 1 mana too much. Okay. Alright, I like that line.
Pumping up the Hangerback Walker. There you go. Fetch Land Sylvan is pretty nice interaction, obviously. Letting him look at fresh cards. We're in his upkeep right now.
Right, he had to catch it beforehand because he wanted to cast this Ancient Grudge.
Now that there's a Tangle Wire, he is going to Ancient Grudge the Sphere.
Yep. Makes sense. Otherwise, Sphere is just a free artifact for Chris the taps. Makes the Tangle Wire be negligible in that spot.
Interesting game so far. I mean, Tangle Wire just taps everything now. The question is how aggressive he can go. Oh, he's going to flash back. Okay. Flashes back and hits the Tangle Wire. Sees those 3 cards. You definitely want to keep the 2 blue cards here. I think pay 4 life, keep Gush and Flooded Strand.
I like that.
Yeah, I think I pay 4 life. Keep 1 extra card. That's what Rich is doing too.
Conclusion. I think if you see something you want to force, you actually are going to... I think Rich will shuffle and Gush and hope to hit a blue card. Like if he just pitches his 2 cards, he's so far behind.
Fair.
He's already at 11, and Chris has a manlet in 2, so he's actually presenting a decent amount of pressure here.
Well, here's Ravager. Apparently does not want to force that. Yeah, the force is very expensive here. I'm with you. It's also there's also a Wasteland on the other side that you'd like to Gush as a response to.
Yep. This looks like a pretty hard game for Rich to win.
Jitte is a pretty big threat. I mean, if your plan is to try to block and trade with these creatures, with Seeker of the Way, for example. Yeah, Rich is thinking about it. What do you do here?
Concede? I mean...
It's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean...
Look, reshuffle off the Flooded Strand and Gush is way better than Concede. You could hit perfect.
Obviously. I mean, I think Rich is under 10% here. But I think the best line, yeah, probably is to do just that, is the Shuffle and Gush.
Under 10% from here, huh? Chris is out of cards. You have a Sylvan Library for selection.
Yeah, but like Rich's deck doesn't have a way to like catch up, right? I guess if you run in Supreme Verdicts, well, even then, the 2 tokens in the Hangerback are kind of a problem here.
All right. Well, Chris does get hit by a Jitte wielding Hangerback. He's now at 9. Fetchland would put him at 8. Although, I mean, maybe he wants to draw Seeker of the Way. Seeker of the Way is not terrible here. Okay, Chris is going to wasteland. And wow, Rich just lets it happen? He really wants this Seeker the Way plan, doesn't he?
Well, here's an Ancestral.
Is that a good way to trigger prowess?
Can you afford to pay 5 life here, though? Yeah, he puts back the Seeker. He's just gonna fetch and cast Ancestral.
Well, I think he's going to Ancestral into the Seeker.
Okay, that also is gonna work. Sure.
On a cruise.
Cruise. Cruising for a bruising.
I mean, the fact that the Jete resolved, though, makes the Seeker tricky to use. Chris up a game, too. If Rich can't stitch this together, he starts...
He's digging, tapping white? Huh.
He's digging, tapping white.
I think you'd want to tap the other land there. I guess he gets fetch landing at another white source, but...
I mean, Strip can potentially answer the Mishra, but what are you doing about Ravager and Hangerback? Apparently,
if Rich wasn't going to just play the Seeker, I don't know why he didn't shuffle it away. I'm pretty confused by this line.
He can time walk now.
That was a big draw. That was a huge draw. I also forgot that Rich had access to the Seeker when I handicapped him at 10%. He certainly had more equity than that.
He did a lot that turn, but he also kind of didn't do much of anything. Many spells were played. There's the Ancient Grudge he needs. Now then, now this game seems super interesting.
And another Ancient Grudge.
So he can kill the Ravager and the Hangerback. He can strip the Mishra, and the Chris's offense is down to a pair of Thopters and a Jite. And then, if he needs to, he can grudge both Thopter tokens.
And at that point, he'll have his Seeker online. And fighting Time Walk there was huge. I don't think he was winning this game without that.
So he can play the Seeker and strip the Mishra and still have up grudge with flashback.
Yep.
It's pretty good. That's even 2 prowess triggers. And he's still got the Gush.
Right.
That's the original Gush, right? He has had it the whole time? Huh.
So, I mean, certainly finding the Ancestral into the Treasure Cruise, into the Time Walk, is a big portion of his winning percentage range, whatever that right percentage point is.
Sure. It was restricted card into restricted card into restricted card. Interesting. So, Ancient Grudge, Chris ate his Mox so that the Ravager can deposit multiple counters, but Rich can respond by killing the Hangerback.
Chris made a mistake there. Chris should have sacked Ravager itself, so that its trigger would resolve while Grudge is still on the stack. He let Grudge resolve, so now Grudge is in the graveyard can be flashed back.
Yeah, that's just a straight misplay, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he just missequenced that. I mean, it's an awkward kind of stack interaction, but he certainly was a mistake there.
Yeah, because now, I mean, he has no choice but to drop these counters onto the Hangerback, but Rich should just blow it up as a response.
Yeah, but here we see the flashback coming.
Woo! He didn't do it.
It's possible that something was said in the chat, like Chris said, misclicked, and Rich is letting him do what he meant to do. I'm not sure.
That's possible.
I know that if I was playing Chris and he said in the chat, hit F2 on accident, I wouldn't grudge in response. It's possible. I mean, I assume Rich wouldn't miss that, so he must know that he could have.
I'll buy that.
So yeah, in response to the chat, my guess is that Rich didn't punt there, but he was letting Chris fix his misclick.
So he played the Seeker and then goes to grudge the Jitte?
That's really confusing. Why wouldn't he do it? Chris's turns he gets lifelink and block.
Also, Jitte just kills Seeker as a response now. I mean, I guess you can save it with Gush, but then all of this is happening on Rich's turn.
Yeah, this was a strange line.
I was kind of expecting all the grudge shenanigans to happen on Chris's turn so that Seeker would actually be a reasonable blocker.
At the very least, in his upkeep.
Right.
He could have played... He could have turned that Seeker into a 5/5 lifelink.
I mean, I guess he wanted the Jitte counters to go away because he knew he had the Gush to save his guy. And now his guy won't be -2/-2 on Chris's turn. But he also isn't going to be lifelink.
Yeah, I guess if he's not going to chump, like the -2/-2 offsets the 2 prowess triggers, and so the lifelink doesn't matter. This is reasonable, doing this here instead of on Chris's turn. And drawing a blue card there is obviously great for the force of will.
All right, how does this work though? You have to jump block Hangerback, don't you?
If you're at 7, and you know that you're going to untap and lifelink up your Seeker, going to 3 here is not really scary.
I'm just thinking about what happens next. You're just never going to let Hangerback do any damage, and you're not going to kill it?
I mean, Chris is at 10, and his only lands are 2 Ancient Grudges. Rich is going to kill him very quickly.
Okay. The life gain from the Seeker is what's going to swing this? Wow, Chris is down to 6 now that he's tapping both those Ancient Tombs, huh?
The one... Yeah, I don't know if I like making it a 2/2 versus a 1/1. I might have just made it a 1/1 there. And the other awkward point here is... The one awkward part about this line for Rich is that if Chris just plays a Wasteland and wastes one of those 2 Tundras, he can't even cast Dig. And then he loses his ability to trigger his Seeker, but a second time. But here we can see he can start... Oh, wow. Dak Faden stealing Hangerback Walker is probably pretty good.
Dak Faden stealing Hangerback is insane here.
It also triggers Prowess.
It also triggers Prowess.
Yeah, that was a nice...
Shay had it all figured out. Like, I'm not convinced I agreed with every step along the way, but Rich Shay has maneuvered this game into a great place for him. He just wins next turn.
Oh, this one's definitely over. That was a sick draw step right there.
I mean, even without the Dak, he was in decent shape. But the Dak, oh wow! Looks like we get a game 3. Wow. Oh boy. Now, you see any cool tech in these sideboards we missed the first time around?
No, I mean, so it looks like Rich did not bring in the CPU verdicts. Those are probably just from Merfolk then, I guess. They seem decent here as a way to clean it up.
I mean, they're good in the Mentor Mirror, too. I mean, the thing is, how do you ever recover from your opponent resolving a Monastery Mentor? You need an uncountable Wrath. I mean, I think they're for the Mirror.
That makes sense.
They would happen to come in against Merfolk as well, but the Mirror is going to come up more often. Or, I mean, I don't know if it... True mirrors maybe don't come up. The double Sylvan Library, single Dragonlord Ojutai, single Seeker the Way mirror. Not super common, I'm guessing. But the Mentor mirror, broadly construed, certainly does. Yeah, I think these guys are just reviewing. I thought I saw Chris take something out right away. Couldn't quite tell what it was, though. This member coming in.
That's interesting. I guess he saw Seeker, that was enough to...
Maybe. It was a singleton Dak Faden, we can see from Rich's list.
Yeah, Rich's been playing 1 Dak Faden and 1 Jace as his 2 Planeswalkers recently.
Yeah. Rich starting on Ancestral Recall, Ancient Grudge. It's always good. Chris finally has a turn 1 workshop, but no real resistors. Just a bunch of creatures. And a sword. You keep Chris's draw, right? Too good to mulligan?
Probably. But it is not good.
Yeah, it's below average for 7, but I think it's still better than 6. Chris obviously thinks so too.
Yeah, I guess you go Hangerback and Ravager here. Probably lead with Ravager.
That's what I do. Kind of want to save the Revoker until you see if Rich is going to play a Mox that you can shut off. Kind of want to save the sword to equip and attack without Summoning Sickness getting in your way. He goes 2/2 Hangerback. No Ravager. It's not bad. Actually seems kind of reasonable.
It's a lot worse against Force of Will. Although if you're getting your Hangerback Walker Force of Will, you're pretty happy.
Right. You've seen more Ancient Grudges than you've seen Mishra's than you've seen Swords of Plowshares.
Yeah.
Now 5 mana does allow Sword and Equip if that's how Chris wants to play it. I like the way 3 mana Sword, look across, see what happens. You've got 2 mana plays if it does get Force of Willed. Maybe even if it doesn't get Force of Willed. Ah, leads Ravager. So this is bait. This is... I don't know if he read him for exactly Steel Sabotage, but that Ravager is not the best card in his hand by any stretch of the imagination. That was Chris saying, here's something for you to counter. I like it. And now here's something I care more about. I don't know which is better. Sword would obviously use his mana better, but Revoker to shut off the Mox is nice.
The problem is he has the same Mox, so you're shutting off your own as well.
Oh, I missed that. They're both Jets, aren't they? Hilarious.
It's still very likely, right? Because Rich's mana is so much more important than Chris's at this
Chris
point.
still has 4.
Huh, he chose Dak Faden instead. Interesting.
Oh, funny.
He
Rich still has Mindbreak Trap in his deck?
That, I think, is a mistake here from Chris. He was going to pump Hangerback. He should do it on right away, right? So he can't get killed in response. There's no reason to wait.
Sure. A mistake he can fix. Well, he wanted to leave up Dismember, I think, is what he was thinking. He's only going to pump Hangerback if he doesn't spend that mana on a Dismember.
If that's your line, then they get to attack with it. I mean,
yeah,
just, you don't...
and attacking for 2 starts to sound better.
Getting a spot where you don't attack or pump it is just so awkward for him.
Are we going to see Dragonlord Ojutai now? Is that actually a thing that's going to happen?
Assume so.
And Chris can't dismember it because hexproof? I mean, you have the ability to Black Lotus out a Dragonlord. I think that's what you do. Dragonlord Ojutai. VSL count now 1.
Chris really wants to draw a land here. He's going to get to put Sword, Resolve Sword, and Equip Sword on Hangerback and attack.
But he would
and
like
he draws
that.
Land. Yeah, he needs a land here so he can keep up Dismember.
Equips the Revoker, not the Hangerback.
Interesting. A lot is resting on this draw step.
That is not a land. No Dismember. Dragonlord Ojutai is going to connect.
And best draw possible by Rich, which is a recurring theme in this.
He has drawn quite well. Ever since you gave him a 10% chance to win, he has drawn quite well. Although, to be fair, the first card he drew after you gave him 10% was a card he'd put on the top previously. But still, all the rest of the restricted cards were new. Snapcaster too?
This game seems really hard for Rich to lose at this point.
That look at the top 3 ability seems pretty good in Vintage. Dragon Lord Ojutai. Man, he's all about looking at his top of his library. Sylvan Library, Dragon Lord Ojutai. I like the name, Sylvan Mentor.
Right. Here comes some responses.
You think?
Yeah, we're going to see a Swords and an Ancient Grudge here in response, I assume.
Yeah, only the 1 white mana. So we can't see Snapcaster, but... I mean, he can do all of Swords, Grudge, Flashback Grudge if he wants to.
Yep. No need to Flashback Grudge here, I think, right? He can just kill... He doesn't really care if that Revoker stays in play.
Wow.
Chris will get to kill the Ojutai, at least with this line.
Sure.
Because Mind Make Trap won't be turned on, right? It's going to be short.
Yeah, here's the plow for Hangerback. Sure, seems like it just works. Can't imagine Chris wants to turn his Dismember into 3 Thopters when there's a tapped Ojutai over there.
Oh yeah, he has to kill that.
Yeah, I think he's just sad. Pretty nice match to kick off this season of Vintage Super League.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of back and forth, especially for shops. A lot of play to these games.
We'll get these 2 guys in for the next round to do commentary as well, so we'll get to hear their decompression, sort of the post-match back and forth. Yeah, so there was the plow, there was the grudge, and he's going to go all the way to Flashback Grudge.
Yeah, he's going to untap and get to cruise here, so...
Here's the bad news, Rich.
Yeah, the news isn't even that bad.
Right. Look, it was a lot worse than Chris not having a Dismember. And Mindbreak Trap is turned on for the Sphere. I mean, Chris obviously did sequence those in the right order. Cared more about the Dismember anyway. Wow, yeah. Now here's just draw 3.
He also has Snapcaster Ancestral if he needs it to draw more. Finds the time.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah, this one is looking bleak.
Do you Time Walk, or do you want to get your Seeker down first? Play the Seeker and pass, right? Untapped.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with Force of Will.
Right. Chris only has 1 card in his hand.
And the Seeker's almost lethal at this point. He Time Walked. I don't like that.
No, I don't either. I would have played Seeker for sure. I mean, the Seeker has looked decent here, but Rich is not maxed on Monastery Mentors. Like, he's essentially said being 2 mana is so important that he's got Seeker of the Way instead of Monastery Mentor number 3. But we saw the list during sideboarding. It's got 2 Mentors in it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the list he's been playing in a lot of dailies to pretty good results.
Yeah, I'm not saying. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying it's interesting. It's interesting whether he's right or whether he's wrong. I would much rather be attacking with the Seeker here, though.
Yeah, this is very strange to me. This whole line. I mean,
it should work out.
borderline impossible for me, especially now Drew strip mine. It's basically impossible for Rich to lose. I mean, he's off the board favorite at this point, but it's such a strange line. And I get that he can like snapcaster back that time walk, so it's not a huge deal that he incinerated it, but wouldn't you rather just play Seeker than time walk and then the next turn snapcaster time walk and just Chris is just dead?
That was my line. Although I might have snapcaster Ancestral.
Sure.
Not the Snapcaster walk is probably better. Snapcaster Ancestral is more fun. Who knows what you're going to draw? The yawning is real. You really are still on Barcelona time, aren't you?
I'm struggling here.
I guess that's good news for Bob. You're gonna manage to stay up for round 3.
We may have our first default no-show in the history of the VSL, but I'll do my best. Why is he countering Thorn of Amethyst? Like, why would you possibly care about that card? I guess it pumps Ravager to a 3/3, but this line's just bizarre to me.
Well, he can basically counter everything. Like, it's the last card out of Chris's hand. He wants to go Brainstorm, Snapcaster, Ancestral shenanigans. Thorn was going to be annoying there. I don't mind the counter.
Yeah, he has so much mana. I don't know. I think that was...
Not into a Thorn, he doesn't.
I don't think he needs to be playing multiple spells a turn.
Time Walk or Ancestral?
I think he has Ancestral here, right? I mean, he can't even... Yeah, that makes sense. I guess he also has the Ruby to prowess again. Ooh. All right.
Ruby does, in fact, trigger prowess. So, Force of Will online for anything Chris might draw. Chris draws mana. Wow, Chris was super close to winning this match.
Yeah.
Seemed like he was out in... Won the first game, obviously. Was out in front in game 2. Rich with the Sylvan Library just stitched together 3 restricted cards in a row to claw his way back into it. 2 Ancient Grudges to kind of blow up all the threats on Chris's side and earned this game 3. Brainstorm, Trigger Prowess, Trigger Lifelink. Oh, just dig spells. Sylvan and repeal. That's all.
No big deal.
It's a little better than it was last turn. I mean, reshuffle, play Sylvan, attack with a 4-power lifelinker. Right? I don't even... Do you dig? I don't even know if you dig here.
I would just repeal the Ravager and get this over with, but it doesn't really matter. I think Rich could F6 on accident for 3 turns in a row and still win this one.
There's a Jace. There's a Mentor. I'm guessing... I'm going to go out on a limb and say you don't take Sylvan number 2. Takes the Mentor and the Jace. Makes sense. Here's the Sylvan. Attack for 7. Chris will draw 1 card and then concede the game. I'll attack with the Snapcaster.
Yeah, the Seeker looks really good in this matchup.
You can't attack into Mistress Factory. I forgot about Mistress Factory. He could have blocked with a 3/3 Mistress Factory. Still, hey, Chris, do you... He has a turn of chump blocking. It's not worth it. He's just going to concede the game. Rich Shay, ladies and gentlemen, moves to 1-0, the trademark Sylvan Mentor deck. He's been tuning that for a while. It is essentially the deck that he used to take second in the recent Power 9 challenge, but he's continued to improve it. The Seeker is new. The Ojutai is new. Good stuff.
Yeah, I like the Seeker a lot in that matchup. I mean, it resembles like why you play Delver on the Delver decks these days. Is really for workshops.
Good point.
He just has a hard time dealing with cheap creatures, and Lifelink's super relevant in that matchup. So I think Rich showing a really good understanding of how to configure his 75 to get ahead against shops. That was impressive.
Yeah, and main deck Ancient Grudge. I think he had Pikula. You had Pikula, a lot of Pikula's range on shops. I think Rich agreed with you. So that's going to do it for round 1 here at the Vintage Super League. We'll get those guys in for commentary. We are about ready to watch newcomer David Ochoa take on Kai Buddha. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.
With Hookah Trade, the world is your trade binder.